No sleep till Durham. 1 week out. ACC Baseball Championship at Durham Bulls Athletic Park. It started very, very soon. It is the point at which the rubber meets the road, as they say. Danny Graves, Daron Vaught, this is ACC Baseball, etc. Appreciate you joining us. Danny, what's good, man? Big weekend with you had a birthday party last week, and then Mother's Day, a lot of family time of late.
Yeah, hockey going on for the weekend for the kid. You know, he loves playing hockey, and so now that's why I love hockey. But then Mother's Day weekend, and you know, got to do whatever Mama wants to do, and we did, and we pleased her, which is great. And now we're moving along.
Nice. And now you got a big couple of weeks, right? Because I mentioned ACC Baseball Championship, but you are also going to be at the Fenway Park ALS game, Notre Dame. That one. Yeah,
dude, I'm so excited about that. So Notre Dame, Boston College is the annual ALS game, the Pete Frates Foundation. And I believe Pete Frates' daughter's throwing out the first pitch of that game. Yeah. And Ray Bjork, is that how you say his last name? Bjork, the hockey player. He's going to be catching the first pitch, apparently. So it's a pretty big deal. I remember watching this in the past on TV, but I get to be there. We're going to be doing the ACC PM show with Mark Packer and Taylor Tannenbaum. So the three of us will be there. It was supposed to be announced already, so I'm hoping it was announced, or else I just announced it. So,
I was definitely going to be there. It means
definitely going to be there. I was told it was going to be announced yesterday. I don't know if it was or not, but if it hasn't been, it is now. So
it is now. Here we go.
And so the last time I was at Fenway Park too.
I was just about to ask that. When was the last time?
June of 1997. And June, I would say June 8th. I pitched that day, and I had to look this up, the exact date. I pitched that day. We might have had another day there after, but I pitched that day and gave up quite a few runs. I was kind of like in for the mop up and just kind of save the bullpen type deal. So I remember I gave up a homer to John Valentin. Garcia Parra hit one off the Green Monster, and 6 runs later, but only 4 were earned. So, I mean, that's good.
I mean, it's not as bad.
Right.
I don't know about good.
Right. Yeah, not as bad. I should have said not as bad. Yeah. So, you know, I'm going to exercise some demons when I go back, because that was the last time I was there. Never got to go back in because got traded to the National League. And when we did interleague, we never went to Boston. So
good. No, this will be good for you. Cleansing even.
Yeah.
All right. Perfect. I'm glad.
And I don't know if I ever signed the Green Monster. You know how people go behind it and sign it? The players do when they come in town.
Yeah.
I don't remember if I signed it or not. So I'm going to try to sneak back there and sign it and put 1997 like I actually signed it in 97.
And if there are 2, there are 2. So be it. Whatever.
Yeah, that's right.
You'll get to hang out with our friend Mike Rooney.
That's
Rooney's
right.
going to be there.
So
that'll be a good time and a really cool game that is always an event and for a great cause. It'll be really cool to see. You'll get to see our guy Mike Gambino as well.
Yeah.
So
can't wait to see him, man. He's a hoot. I love that dude.
All right. So what a time for you coming up this weekend. All right. So you had family obligations over the weekend. Mm-hmm. I had a lot of games, including 2 of 3 for NC State, North Carolina. A sweep by the Tar Heels at the Bosch. Scott Forbes, they're on their way, as we're recording this on Tuesday, they are on their way to play at Coastal Carolina. It's one big road trip that they're finishing the season with, because they are also at Clemson this weekend.
Yeah.
It is a really tough 4-game stretch to close out the year. But North Carolina, it's been a program that's been said to have some May magic before. As we saw last year, they're maybe on the verge of doing that again, because they looked really good against NC State over the weekend. But, a walk-off on Thursday, that was a blast. I mean, there's nothing on this planet I love more than a walk-off.
Yeah, your call, dude, was phenomenal.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that.
I'm admitting that's the only thing I saw because I saw it on your social media, but it was brilliant, dude. It was absolutely amazing.
Well, the important thing about a situation like that and a call of a situation like that is just shut the hell up, right? Like, it's like North Carolina wins, lay out. And and I shut up I'll have to go back and count, but I probably didn't say a word after North Carolina walks it off for like 2 minutes.
Until it was time to sign off.
Yep, that's it. You watch them, they're jumping up and down, they're celebrating. Yeah. Forbes is grinning ear to ear after he gets through the handshakes, of course. And then it's just like, well, for Paul Shuey and Wayne McDonald, Natalie Bodie, I'm Daron. See ya.
Yeah. We don't have time for anything else.
Thanks for joining us. But yeah, no, thank you. It's always fun to do those big moments. Obviously, it's part of calling games that is most enjoyable. Nothing in this world I love more than a walk-off. I tell people all the time. So it was cool to be there for that. And the Bosch was packed. I think they officially had 3 sellouts for those games.
Wow.
So it was loud.
Yeah. And so was there a lot of Wolfpack fans there too?
Yeah. I mean, so like compared to a series hosting Miami, right? A bigger percentage of the fan base is going to be in red.
Right.
But I mean, Tar Heel fans showed out. It'd be tough for me to put a percentage on it. Maybe like 70-30.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Either way, it's still a sellout.
Yeah. And it's always, I mean, it's those games, UNC Duke. I mean, when you get the local rivalries in play, they're usually really well attended. They're usually really, really fun and like rambunctious crowds. And that was for sure the case. It was cool. And again, just like as part of calling the game, being there and feeding off of the energy as part of it, it was that made it even more fun. So yeah, no, they get the walk off on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. They made look a little bit easier than that, we'll say. So that, yeah, I mean, there's a conversation to be had about North Carolina and the role that they're on.
Yeah.
Transversely, we got to talk about NC State.
Yeah. Tell me what do you see anything that's going on? Like, is it they're pitching or they're just not hitting?
The bats get quiet or got quiet at points. You know, they had 4 or 5 home runs on the weekend, but every single one of them was, well, except for one. Cannon Peebles hit a first inning bomb in the first game that got them their big lead that they then lost. But other than that, it was just kind of like a late garbage time solo homer here. Yeah. You know, when a point in a game where pitchers aren't afraid to miss with a fastball by a little bit, you know. Inconsequential solo home run. Okay, now it's 12-2 or whatever.
Yeah.
They just are you familiar, Danny, with NC State stuff?
No, I need to hear about this. You got to fill me in. I have no idea what that is.
So it is a being in the triangle of North Carolina and working in local media here. As I have, you become familiar with it, and sometimes they don't say stuff. It's shuff.
That's the other word,
or whatever. Yeah, however you want to do that. It is basically like it is what they point to, and when I say they, I mean NC State fans. It is what they point to when something unfortunate happens to them. It's almost as if they're like cursed. Is the feeling, is the interpretation of it.
Okay.
And if you look at it this way, it can be very convincingly argued that Elliot Avent's 2 best teams in the history of his time at NC State were 2020 and 2021. 2020, COVID happens. Now, I don't know that we can blame a pandemic on this voodoo sports team phenomenon, but it's sort of lumped in with it.
2021,
same thing. Team gets COVID, right?
Yep.
It's what they would credit with their football team played in that Holiday Bowl or was supposed to play in that Holiday Bowl and didn't. And they sort of just like claimed themselves to be the champion as a result.
Right.
It's okay. They don't get to play in a bowl game. Let's hone it in on like a micro level.
Okay.
Over the weekend,
game
1 of the series, NC State off to a 4 or 5 run lead early. Okay. As things started to unravel, pop up into foul territory, Eli Serrano III is the first baseman for NC State. Really, he's a freshman, really, really, really promising young player.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of Serrano.
Mm-hmm.
He gets underneath the pop-up in foul ground over at first. Noah Souls is the right fielder. Could not be farther away. 30 yards, 40 yards away. Serrano, before the pop-up drops down into his glove, steps forward to get out of the way and looks back. Foul ball drops. North Carolina gets 3 runs that inning.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, he got called off by a fan.
Yeah.
Or whatever. And it's just little things like just like sort of unfortunate things. That's a little bit more dependent on the players than NC State stuff would suggest. But even just like having the 36 RPI a season ago and being left out by the committee. It's just it's what the fan base and an NC State fan probably would explain it much better than me, but it is a thing that people perceive to be real. NC State stuff, sort of like a Murphy's Law sort of thing. Like if it can happen and be against the
like it only happens against us.
Yeah. If it can happen and it is against the interest of an NC State athletic program, it will happen is sort of how it feels. And I was talking to Andrew Sanders, does radio for NC State baseball. I was talking to him before game 3 on Saturday, and it came up in this context. And it's just kind of like, there's just been, he said, Thursday, the game 1 that they, gave up a big lead and got walked off with a squeeze play.
Yeah.
He said, I don't mean that specific game or specifically how that happened, but he says, we've lost that game 6 or 7 times this year, right? You get off to a big lead. There's just like a play you should have made, but don't make. It doesn't necessarily go down as an error.
Right.
But it leads to more things happening. So there's just been, and we talked about this with Runes when he mentioned that this was prior to them going to Notre Dame and winning. They had only won 2 ACC series on the year at the time. And I think they were 2-5 in full series. And it's like, okay, this is a team that top 20, 30-ish RPI. They've got talent. We know that. And it's just like something just isn't quite clicking.
Yeah.
There's some weirdness going on, and I'm not saying it's NC State stuff, but I'm sure someone is going to say that. So now that you're clear on sort of what that is, you can just expect it. And you're going to be here in the Triangle for the championship anyway. So that's perfect. You'll probably hear talk of NC State stuff. Or Tommy White transferring to LSU.
Yeah.
NC State stuff. If it can happen, it will, right?
Right. But yeah, I get it. I mean, I don't.
Everybody's transferring. I know.
Yeah.
It's the congruence of all these factors leading to lack of NC State ultimate success. That is why it sort of gets credited as NC State stuff.
Right. Well, I mean,
but we can talk about like actual things, like tangible things. Let's so like Sam Highfill started game 3 and struggled. That's a guy that if NC State is going to have success, we said it last week.
Yeah, right? They need him to pitch great.
They do.
Which he did his first couple starts.
Yeah. So, he struggled. He got chased 3 1/3, I think, is what he threw.
Mm-hmm.
Gino Groover was like 1 for 9 on the weekend.
And that's odd. I mean,
yeah, I mean, he was hitless in games 1 and 2. I don't remember his exact line from game 3, but he entered game 3 0 for 8 at the plate, and he did get a hit. But if offensively, if they're going to be impactful, he's got to be a part of it. So, at this point in the year, it just feels like a little too much dependence on certain guys. Whereas you look to the opposite dugout in North Carolina, we're not saying that about Vance and Mack right now.
Right.
Because Casey Cook is maybe the best leadoff guy in the conference right now.
Yeah.
And
him and Tommy Hawk for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And they've got Tomas Frick, who is a gap-to-gap hitting machine.
Yeah.
Hunter Stokely is quietly one of their best hitters and just is down there in the 6-7 spot in the order.
Right.
I mean, the walk-off win, it was a pinch hit RBI triple by Eric Grentz, who had only had 3 plate appearances in over a month because he got a broken rib on a hit by pitch. The game-winning squeeze play was their 9-hole batter and shortstop Colby Wilkerson. It's just it's not coming from a place of, okay, we need Vance to hit a home run. We need Mack to hit a home run.
Yeah,
maybe you could say that about their pitching, and they got Max Carlson delivered that performance in game 2, but it's just not the same. It just feels a little pressed for NC State.
Well, it should, because they're kind of lost right now. They're not sure who they are. And North Carolina, they did this last year at this time of the year, that they just couldn't be beat. Everything they did it right. Like watching them in Charlotte in the ACC Championship, they overmatched everybody. It wasn't even close the way that they're playing. And that's kind of what they're doing right now. You mentioned the May Magic. But with NC State, I think moving forward, you could always, all right, glass half full, right? You could always say that North Carolina was playing out of their shoes, and okay, they beat us bad, but now we get to go and finish the season with Pittsburgh, who isn't playing very well, and hasn't all year. So this is our time to really try to get hot again, because at the end of the day, that's their chance to show whoever the selection committee, who they really are. Just go in and put a beat down on Pitt.
Yeah. The interesting thing about that is they and Pitt are battling for the same thing.
Yeah.
So they currently are 11-12 in the conference standings.
Mm-hmm.
Even more interesting is that Louisville, who can't win lately, losers of 7 straight, couple sweeps in a row.
Yeah, I don't understand what's happening.
It's the unraveling of the Louisville season is that's maybe there's some Louisville stuff going on, right?
You're making it up for him.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's bizarre. You expect, even if they lose a series, for them to be able to compete for a game here and there. It's just it's weird. And they currently, this is wild. If we weren't playing this last weekend of games and the ACC Championship started now, Louisville is out, Florida State is out.
Yeah.
2 teams that are, historic staples. But also 2 teams that met in the final as recently as 2017. It's wacky, and they play each other. So Florida State is mathematically out of it. They could sweep Louisville and still not make it.
Right.
They could ensure that Louisville doesn't make it if they do that.
Yeah.
But that doesn't favor Louisville because they're not gaining ground if they sweep even. they're not gaining ground on somebody they need to gain ground on.
Yeah.
So it's man, it's bizarre to see them down there at this point in the season, because I mean they were as high as what? Were they a top 10 team?
Yeah, I believe they were at some point. Yeah. Yep. Gosh, 29-22 is their overall record. Just 9-18. Just you don't expect that out of them.
No. And that's not, I mean, you know, that's not going to make, even if they sweep this weekend, like if they sweep this weekend, there's a chance they don't make the conference tournament, much less. I mean, that's not getting you in the NCAAs, 12-18 in the conference.
Yeah. I would say that if they don't make the ACC championship, they're not going to get in the tournament.
Yeah.
I mean, they can't, right? I mean, did they host last year?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a big drop.
Big drop. Yeah.
Big drop.
Man.
Uncharacteristic of a Danny Mac team for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. But I love that the last week of the season, though, is coming down to
well, the teams that have a chance to make the tournament are playing each other. So it actually worked out to, like, in a way that is best from our vantage point, for drama, for excitement, for games that matter.
Yeah, we love drama.
we do. We love drama. And then, you know, you've got the other situations where it's like Clemson and North Carolina. I mean, Clemson is in the national seed conversation. So they get a series win out of that. That's what there's plenty left to fight for them is the point. Whereas with North Carolina, they have a good series. Maybe they're a top 16 and they can host. Who knows? Yeah.
And both these teams are beating everybody, one with an 8-game winning streak and one with 5-game winning streak. So it's going to be interesting, man. And, you know, with the tournament starting on Tuesday, it just baffles me how these coaches are going to have to set up the rotations, you know, with the Friday, Saturday, Sunday starters. So Friday, does your Friday starter, if your game's under control, does he only go 5 so that he can go in the first game that they play in the ACC championship? You know, it's just odd that it starts so soon after the regular season is over.
Yeah.
As far as pitching, like your pitching matchups.
Yeah. And maybe you can ask Scott Forbes about it. Their situation's a little bit different, and it's going to vary from team to team.
Sure.
But there's, like, say you've got a conventional Friday, Saturday, Sunday rotation.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know that there are many teams in the conference that do
Forest.
at this point, but if you're Wake Forest, how do you approach? And again, this is a team with its sights set on things much deeper than the conference tournament, right? They like to continue their dominance and come out on top in Durham. Yes.
Yeah.
Because that would all but secure the national number 1 seed overall, right? But they've got their sights set on things that are much greater.
Yeah.
But even aside from that, you know what? Let's strip it of that. Independent of that, they have a set rotation. How do they approach it with the pool play? But what would you do with Rhett Lauder, Sean Sullivan, and Josh Hartle?
To be continued. No, I don't know. I don't know. That's what I want to know. And of course I'll ask Coach Forbes, but his situation is different because of, you know, the maneuvering that he's done with his staff going, you know, with Carlson going back and forth from bullpen to starter. And I think with, you know, Wake Forest is finishing up with Virginia Tech. I think if you have a decent enough lead, I would consider taking Rhett Lauder out after 5 and letting the bullpen get some work and getting, you know, finishing the game. But then with Sean Sullivan, do you do the same thing with him? Maybe, but then you burn more of the bullpen. And then with Josh Hartle on Sunday, what do you do with him? You know, I don't know. It's a double-edged sword. You take your starter out and save him for the championship, then you burn your bullpen, or you take him out and you end up losing, and then you lose some spots in the national seed. I'm just glad that I don't have to make the decisions.
Yeah,
but
it's fascinating too, because whatever you do there isn't nearly as complicated as what you have to do beginning on Tuesday next week.
Right.
Because you're just everybody's off of their routine.
Exactly.
By nature of what it is. If you're playing Tuesday or Wednesday and you throw Rhett Lauder, I mean, he probably just threw on Friday, right? I guess that's going to be it, or Thursday. A lot of series are moved up. I don't know if theirs is.
Let's see.
It helps them.
Thursday, yeah.
So it helps them if it's Thursday, because then number one, I would imagine they would play Wednesday would be their first game.
Yeah, so he would almost be on regular schedule.
Yeah.
Just one day shorter.
Yeah, which means the other starters would be close to, if not on regular schedule. But this is the other thing too, Danny, like not all of them are going to respond the same way to, maybe for Rhett to be as good as Rhett is, you just got to let him play out a full start on Thursday and know that he's got 6 days. And because otherwise, maybe there's just everybody doesn't respond the same way to it, right?
Yeah,
everybody needs different routine wise.
Yeah,
to get to a point where they're optimal. And this is where it fascinates me, because Tom Walter's all about doing what is going to get the optimal performance out of his guys.
Yeah,
as he talked about last week.
Yeah,
they're very smart about it, and I'm sure they've got a plan. I actually would love to. It would have been great to sort of flip him and have him on with us this week or going into the tournament. So
we could
talk specifically about okay, what's the plan? Why is that the plan? Because he's got answers.
We could have hammered him about those.
Yeah, but it's fascinating how, and it almost plays to a team like. I don't know that it plays necessarily to the favor of a team like Duke, but they are a more malleable pitching staff in a lot of ways.
Yeah, because they don't have guys that go 6, 7, 8 innings like Wake Forest does. And you mentioned like routine. I think Rhett Lauder has gone into the 7th inning of every start basically all year. So there's a thing about getting your pitches in, and they say it since the start of spring training, since the start of fall ball. Okay, we got to get your work in, got to get your pitches in. And then all of a sudden, if you come out after 5 with only 70 pitches, well, you're 25 to 30 pitches less than what you normally do. So now it's changing your routine with that too. So, there's a lot of variables going on here. But at the same time, I think Coach Walter and most of these coaches have been in this position before where they can figure out how to mix and match their pitching staff. And Duke, they've done that a lot with guys going 3 or 4 innings and bringing the next guy for 2 or 3 innings. And
well, I think that, and again, I hesitate to say it definitively is going to give them an advantage, but I think it could be argued that it does. Yeah. Because those guys, when speaking about routine, their routine has been routineless. Like that's been their routine all year.
Right.
It's just been, hey, when we need you, go in. And there are sections of the season where it's like, okay, I'm typically the person in this role. I'm typically the person in this role. And they've defined some more of those roles as the season has gone on. But their makeup as a pitching staff is that they are all adapting to whatever the team needs in the specific moment that they need it. So I don't like nothing that comes from the weirdness of the schedule is going to catch them off guard in the way that I don't think Rhett Lauder's susceptible to that, but there's a chance, right? I don't think there's less of a chance with Duke's pitching.
Yes. And they've been successful because they they've kind of bought into it because they see the success that the team's having with doing it this way. You really got to buy into having a starter knowing he has no chance of getting the W. If that's a thing in college baseball still or not, I don't know. But when you're only going to go 3 or 4 innings and just give it to the next guy, I mean, swallow your pride a lot, right? And these guys have done that. They know that it works, and they see that the team gets hot this way.
Yeah.
And that's what they got to do. So it'll be interesting though, man. Either way, it's going to be crazy to see how these guys work their staffs.
Yeah. I can't wait. Can't wait.
I know.
No sleep till Durham. It's we're amending the Beastie Boys song for that. But realistically, I will sleep. I will. It's that time of year. I just, I teach a college course. I just wrapped that up. My last scheduled college baseball game is behind me as far as play-by-play goes. So we're sort of in a nice little, okay, let's reset. So I will sleep probably close to 8 hours a night, which just means I'm going to be well rested.
Yeah. Hey, what do your students call you, by the way? Professor Vaught?
Before we get to Forbes, this is important. I struggled. This was my first semester. I am not terribly far from their age. I'm just 33.
Mm-hmm.
I struggled with this a lot. It was probably the one thing I struggled the most with when I started the semester. To the point where I walked into the classroom and I was like, I still don't know what I prefer you guys call me. I don't know. My name is Daron. That seems a little informal. Don't call me doctor. I don't have the degree for that. I was like, Professor Vaught, sure, I guess is the most appropriate. So it's landed in this place where they all sort of chose their own method. So some students, it's a first name basis, which is fine. Again, whatever. It is my name. Some it's just Professor. Some it's Professor Vaught. Some it's Professor Daron. And some put like a little spin on it where they're like Professor V. But it's like I go by like 7 or 8 different things. And I don't know if that's good or bad. Should I consolidate for next year? I don't know. We're working on it. It's a work in progress.
Well, I mean, they're all adults, right? Like,
yeah. Well, that's why I said, like, sure, call me by my name. It's not going to offend me.
Yeah,
right?
because
that would be unreasonable.
Because that's your name.
Yeah.
And when I coached, I told the girls, I coached high school softball. I said, don't call me coach. My name's not Coach.
Right.
I mean, call me whatever, just as long as it's presentable, but my name's not Coach. So they never called me Coach.
Yeah. So anyways, that's what we've got on the what students call me.
That's
we'll
awesome.
See. I don't know if I'm going to introduce it any differently next semester. I'm teaching again in the fall, so like a new crop of students. Do I do the same sort of thing where I'm like, look, you can call me whatever you want, just be respectful.
DV.
We'll see. And that is like Runes defaults to DV. He and I were on coaches calls together, and he dropped a DV several times.
Yeah.
And some people, that's just what they go with.
Right. Well, Runes can call anybody anything he wants.
Yeah. Like Runes could, 100%. Runes could call me doctor and I wouldn't say a word.
Yeah.
To be like, okay, if you think so.
Yep. Whatever you say.
So we'll see. Anyways, mostly Professor Vaught is the majority of it, which again feels kind of buttoned up for me, but it's fine.
Well, I mean, you technically are a professor.
Yeah. We'll see.
Dude, I might call you that from now on. I've just decided.
Well, Paul Shuey started taking to calling me that in the booth over the weekend. He was just like, "Wait, what do I call you now? Can I call you that?"
Yeah.
And he just He jokingly said it a couple of times, and it's just like, all right, we just got to let it roll.
Me and Shuey think alike. I'm telling you, relievers, we're all the same.
Yep. That's it. I don't know. You two pretty different. Pretty different.
Same but different.
Same but different. Same but different. All right, let's get to Scott Forbes.
Yep.
We're jumping over to Zoom because we had to record this differently because of technical capabilities. He is joining us by phone because, as previously mentioned, he is on the bus headed to Coastal Carolina. We are now joined by the head coach of the North Carolina Tar Heels, new contract extension. We got to talk about that. Scott Forbes joins us from the road on their way to play a top 10 Coastal Carolina team. Scott, first of all, very cool of you to sort of squeeze us in while you guys are, you guys are trying to close out strong, keep up this May magic that has become a thing with this North Carolina program. So thanks for the time. Appreciate you joining us after what was a big weekend for you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Glad to be on. We're just on the bus heading to Coastal and then from Coastal to Clemson, right? 4 easy games.
yeah. Clemson, they're not unbeatable lately or anything. No big deal. No problem.
Yeah, nothing like having Coastal on a midweek game too, right?
Yeah, no doubt. But it's that time of year, and we've got a good group, so we'll enjoy the heck out of it. And it'll be 2 great atmospheres.
For sure. Well, let's start with the weekend. I was on the call for 2 of the 3 games, so I saw it in person. But let's get Danny up to speed, maybe. Scott, what was that weekend like? Getting a sweep of NC State and really more than the sweep of a rival at home. It was about sort of your positioning and your momentum heading toward the end of the season, as we're now a week from Durham. What was the weekend like?
Yeah, no doubt. It was a big weekend for us. Kind of unlike us, we played really, really well on the road, and we haven't played great, at the Bosch. We actually have lost 3 series at home this year in the ACC. 1 to Virginia early, 2 one-run games to Miami, and then obviously the hiccup was the sweep at home by a good BC team. But still, you want to take care of business at home. And I thought that was big for us, not just because it was NC State, but to play well at home. Anytime you can get a sweep in this league, it's extremely hard to do, no matter who it is against, because the league is so good top to bottom. But man, it was great weather, post exams. Every game was sold out, so it was a phenomenal weekend for us and for our fans.
Coach, you mentioned the post exams that week, obviously with no playing games. Do you feel that got a lot of guys some rest and got them kind of ready to go to finish strong here in the last few games?
Yeah, definitely. We found a way to win the doubleheader at Virginia Tech, which was big for us, and then we come back and exams are basically about to start, but we still have to play Campbell at home coming off that doubleheader, and then we go to East Carolina to make up a game. We split those 2 games. We had our chances to beat Campbell again, but we lost by 1, and then finding a way to turn the tide at ECU and winning that game by 1 run was really big for us going into that exam break. And then we got a chance to heal some guys we've had some guys pretty banged up. We've had 2 hammates broken this season, and Castagnazzi, have been a little bit banged up. So that definitely helped. And then to come out and find a way to beat Gardner-Webb again by 1 run in a heated kind of, crazy game was big for us going into NC State for sure.
To piggyback on that, Scott, this is something that, again, I mentioned sort of getting hot in May is something that a lot of recent North Carolina teams have done. Aside from getting healthy and the physical aspect of the time off and getting past exams, is there a significant change in your players that you detect on an annual basis once they get classes and exams behind them, because they're just players at that point? Is that sort of a bump up in morale just for that reason?
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. I mean, obviously we preach to our guys even during school the importance of taking care of your body, getting your sleep. But obviously when you have a lot on you academically, sometimes you do have to stay up a little bit later. So when you get done with everything and that's behind you. That's a load off your shoulders for sure. But we've always just talked about, as cliche as it is, of being process oriented, getting better every day, having a short memory, not getting too high or too low. And our guys buy into that, and they understand, hey, we're going to have some tough times during the season, because we've only had a couple of seasons since I've been here where, you won every series. A lot of those Omaha teams we've been on, you got swept 2 or 3 times throughout the year, and you got to be able to recover from it. So really for us, it's like, okay, let's try to keep getting stronger. We want to be playing our best baseball, starting in May, and hopefully, be at our peak in May and June. That's the hope. Doesn't always happen, but that's what the hope is.
Coach, I know you don't like to look forward too much, but I need to ask you this question. With the ACC Championship coming up next Tuesday, how difficult is it to decide what you're going to do with your pitching staff, or do you just go with the same thing you've been going with all year for the weekend before, the Friday, Saturday, Sunday game?
Yeah, we've had to change ours a little bit because we were just trying to figure out our pitching staff. We have a talented pitching staff, but a lot of new faces. When you're losing a guy like Brandon Schaefer that threw 100 innings, and you're losing your closer in Davis Palermo, and your 2 best relievers your 3 best relievers, Gage Gillian, Caden O'Brien, and Sean Rapp. It took us a while to kind of get our hands wrapped around on how we wanted to utilize guys in roles, and we had to take Carlson out of the rotation because he had struggled a little bit, but now he's settled back in. So for us, we're still going to try to throw our 3 starters this week, but we're going to get Carlson back to that number 1 guy. So if we want to use him, he will be off 4 days rest if we happen to get the Tuesday draw. Last year, that's what we did. He threw Thursday against Florida State, and he threw Tuesday against Clemson, and he threw Sunday against NC State. So that's kind of what we will plan for. You want your best guy to be available to pitch as much as possible down the stretch, and if you're taking care of them, they should all be able to do that.
Yeah. You mentioned Max Carlson. I want you to talk about him a little bit. He was great against ECU. He was obviously really good in the Saturday game to lock up the series against NC State over the weekend. What is it about his journey this year that has gotten him ultimately where he is? You mentioned pulling him from the rotation. He sort of was a bullpen piece that was pretty good, really, I guess, except for one outing, and then he's settled back in. How important is he for you guys?
He's ultra important. The one thing about Max is he's got ice water in those veins. Even though he struggled, he's never going to back down. He's a big game pitcher. Matter of fact, he's usually better in those bigger games, bigger atmospheres, more on the line. And we've known that, but he was struggling a little bit. We were struggling a little bit at the time in the bullpen, and that we timed that one up perfect because he came in at ECU, threw 3 clean, really good innings. And really for Max, it's been a story of he's really had success against left-handed hitters, and this season he has not had much success against right-handed hitters. So we've zeroed in on that when we moved him to the bullpen, really working on how we're going to correct that, how we're going to attack those righties. And his last couple outings, he was very successful against NC State in doing that because the splits are crazy. I mean, lefties probably are hitting under 130 against them for the year. So, I'm excited where he is. He's still giving us a lot of innings and a workload, but, things happen for a reason. And now if he does have to go back to the bullpen in a big situation, he is prepared for it. But we need him to be our guy, be our starter, and go out there and be a guy that other teams respect and have a little bit of fear of. And I think, other teams do know, like, hey, man, this kid, if he's on, he's as good as anybody in the league.
Well, and I think we saw that. I saw it in person last year at the ACC Baseball Championship, what he did in the appearances that he had. And you just kind of felt, and I think the players felt his domination as well. And, whenever pitchers get sent to the bullpen, I always try to remind them that look at it as a promotion and not a demotion, which a lot of pitchers think, I'm going to the bullpen, I'm getting demoted. How did he take that when you mentioned that this was the move you wanted to make with them?
Really well. He's a great teammate, and he knew he trusts us. He trusts our program. If you talk to Carly, he's going to do whatever he thinks is it's in the best interest for us to win games first. And, we just felt like that was best at the time to get him back on track, but also give us a little boost in the bullpen. And that was right. Or, now we feel like, okay, we got a guy like Matt Poston who's emerged as a true closer. So we felt better about moving Carly back to that Friday role. But again, he embraced it. And I think it helped him too, because when Carlson has a week to prepare, his velocity is going to be a little bit higher. But when he's learned to come out of the bullpen and coming off 2 days rest, you go back to pitching because you may not have that 94, 95 that second time out. And it reminded him that he is a pitcher. He's not going to sit 94, 96 for 7 innings like Skeens at LSU. But when he pitches 90, 93 and then touches the 94, he's at his best.
Let's move on to the lineup. Much is often said about Vance Honeycutt, who was preseason ACC Player of the Year. And Scott, I feel like we've tried to sort of dispel this narrative that Vance is having a down year, which, I get it.
Yeah,
He's probably got more to give, right? If he just gets in his zone of being otherworldly, but and we've tried to do this on broadcasts of hours when I've been on games with you guys. The strikeout rates and the walk rates, I mean, they're about 10% different in each direction, at least for him. It's improved a lot, right? So in a lot of ways, he is doing certain things a lot better than he did a season ago, which is kind of hard to imagine. What's, from your vantage point, what's the season been like for Vance?
I couldn't agree more. I mean, when you have a year like that, you're going to be, you look at it, he's predicted the #1 pick. And so, so you had to learn to handle that. And Vance has a great family, and he's done a phenomenal job with that. But, I see him every day, and I see him in practice, and I've seen him be in the lineup for us and start every game for us this season. He's played banged up. His center field has been unreal. He's won games for us defensively. He's not just improved offensively. He's improved defensively. And this is about the time of year last year where basically everything he started hitting was a double or a home run. Mm-hmm. And he's capable of doing the same thing. But, some kids say, hey, I need a break or whatever. Well, Vance has continued to play, and playing a little bit banged up sometimes is not easy. So I have even more respect for Vance Honeycutt too, because, to have that much talent, he's just always trying to get better. He's working, he's lifting. So for me, I see a more complete, more mature kid that still his best baseball. I mean, he's just scratching the surface. When he's 25, 26, I think, holy Moses, there's no telling where he's going to be.
Yeah. I don't know if you know this, Coach, but I had this man crush on Vance Honeycutt the last couple of years. I think he can do no wrong on the baseball field, and not 100% Vance Honeycutt, I'll take any day over a lot of other players at 100%. Watching him, especially what he did last year at the end of the season, you're right with the double. It's a double or a home run, and he pretty much just put on a show. What I wanted to ask you was, what made you decide to move him out of the leadoff spot into the 3-hole? Just more RBI opportunities?
Yeah, you look, Danny, last year our lineup, we had a guy named Angel Zarate, one of the best pure hitters in the league, who had about 100 hits. Well, now we have a kid that's emerged. He had a red shirt because of an injury. Had to have shoulder surgery, Casey Cook. And, man, has he been good. I mean, he's hitting over 420 in ACC play. He is about Angel to a T. He's not quite hitting as many extra base hits, but he will. And we felt like, man, with him getting on base and with Jackson Vanderbrake doing what he's doing, you put Vance Honeycutt in the 3-hole and then Mac Horvath in the 4-hole. Those two guys, they're on, Vanderbrake and Cook, they're just getting on base at such a high rate. Vance has got the ability to pop the ball to the park and hit a double, and so does Mac. And that's a guy, too, that I'm sure if you talk to Vance would tell you has had a huge impact on him as Mac Horvath. Vance gets a lot of attention, but Mac has been a huge influence on him just as far as how to mature, how to work. Those two guys, that's why I just feel like having him in a spot where guys are going to be on base is important for us.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned Casey and Jackson, because we were talking about this in the booth over the weekend, Scott. You got to be having some kind of a year if you're those two, to earn the 1 and 2 spots in the order ahead of Vance Honeycutt, Mac Horvath, who coming into the season, we said on this very show, Scott, you know, if you put Vance 1, Mac 2, that's a better 1-2 punch than anybody in the country just about. So, I mean, if you're Casey and Jackson, it's a huge testament to the years that you're having respectively to work your way into those 1 and 2 spots.
100%. And, you know, when you have 4 guys like that and you have a guy like freaking Stokely that have improved their games, it really helps the entire team. And you're trying to, you know, at the end of the day, you're trying to score as many runs in a game as you can. And how do you do that lineup wise? You know, they're still back to back, but they're in that 3 and 4 hole. And it's really allowed us to have more balance, to have a left-handed hitter in there and more, you know, you got the right-handed hitters in there as well. It helps tremendously.
Coach, this is a little random. My ADD kind of gets off sometimes. Are you sure you're on the bus? How is it so quiet right now? I don't get it.
Guys are chilling back there. They, you know, nowadays they got their cell phones, man. They don't, they throw them headphones in. They don't, we give them a hard time. We say, hang up and hang out. That's Frick's thing. So, but right now they're just kind of chilling in the morning. We actually just stopped to move around and walk a little bit, so we're not cramping up on this bus. But yeah, it's kind of quiet this morning. It won't be quiet after lunch. That's usually how it works around
Yeah.
here.
Okay. All right. So that leads me to ask, what's your, as a head coach, what is your preference? What kind of a bus ride indicates, okay, my guys are good to go for a game against a top 10 Coastal team?
Oh yeah, this group, you don't have to worry about them. They're well led. You know, it's a fun group. It's a tough group. They really embrace playing on the road. I was joking with them the other day before we played state. I was like, okay, we've checked off the box of being better on the road this year. How about let's be better at the Bosch? So they took that to heart and they got a sweep against state. But you know, Danny, you know how it is. You know, you have certain groups that's almost like when they get away, they kind of turn it up even more because they want to play in those tough environments. And, you know, we've had some situations too this season where we feel like, you know, I don't know what the right word is, where maybe some things in the game have been said that just, you know, it's not right. It's not how the game should go. And we've responded the right way and embraced that as well. So our guys, you know, they'll be excited to hop off this bus when we get to Coastal.
So do they, when they get off the bus, are you guys stopping to get something to eat? Or are they just stretching out or just hanging out?
Yeah, they're on the stretch, get a little snack. Our pregame meal today is at Outback right around Coastal, right in Conway. Right now we're just stopping, scatter a little bit. If they didn't eat a lot of breakfast, they'll grab them a little, you know how it was at that age, you can eat 4-6 meals a day and not gain a pound. We have to be a little more selective as coaches, you know. I can't go 3 biscuits at McDonald's this morning like I used to.
And if you do, you're running to the back of the bus, right?
Yeah, no doubt. But I'm excited for them because, you know, you have certain groups, man, that have done things right the entire season, and that's how they've been off the field in the classroom. And I was in a good position against 2 really good teams. So I'm going to try to stay out of the way and just watch them go to work.
You are one who tends to deflect these types of questions, and I respect you a lot for that, Scott. Can I get you to talk about yourself for just like 15 seconds on each of these? Because you recently passed the 100 win threshold, which it's early, but it's a milestone, right? It's 100 more than you had before you started your dream gig there. And then a contract extension that makes you the head coach there at North Carolina through the 2028 season. Obviously, you're trying to put together the finishing touches on this season, but those are things that have occurred recently. What do they mean to you?
You know, the 100 win thing to me really, you know, I hate to deflect it, but at the end of the day, I just want to win the next one and try to get these guys, you know, get them to help get them to what we told them we would try to get them to, and that's Omaha, and have a chance to win a national championship. The contract extension, you know, for me, it was just really humbling from the standpoint that, I'm thankful, number one, that I was given the opportunity because, they decided to hire me after a Hall of Fame coach retired. And my goal the whole time since I've been the head coach here is to impact these kids and hopefully they leave here, have learned a lot more than just about baseball. And because, it's neat when you get older and you see how well all these former players are doing in life, because at the end of the day, that's the most important thing to me. And I feel like the wins will take care of themselves. But really, I've been so blessed. I grew up 30 miles from Chapel Hill, and my whole family still lives close by. And that's usually not the case in the coaching world. You take a head job a lot of times and you move your whole family, and it just is what it is. But to be the head coach of North Carolina, to me, like it's almost like you're dreaming, to be honest with you.
Yeah. So does that mean that you have a 5-year contract with Jordan shoes too? Because you have the coolest shoes in college baseball.
You know what? I actually have talked to Michael Jordan, which was one of the coolest things that ever happened to me. Which I thought was like, man, this isn't really happening. But we do not have a Jordan contract. We hope maybe one day, maybe we'll be the first Jordan baseball school. But I do have some pretty close friends over in the basketball offices.
Uh-huh.
So, I wear a pretty good size 13, and I am ashamed to say that I probably have a Jordan shoe collection problem. So I do have my share of Jordans, but I don't have a contract. So
the collection comes with the territory. The collection comes with the territory, right?
Yeah.
Like, you have to.
Yeah, and
no
don't
doubt.
be ashamed.
As long as I'm coaching baseball at the University of North Carolina, when I'm coaching a game, I am going to wear Jordan.
And listen, people notice, and maybe it's just me, but that's the first thing I see on you, Coach, how cool those shoes are, man. And I'm very envious.
Well, I mean, you know how it goes. Everybody tries to wear Jordans and they get them all customized, but the true Jordans are at the end of the day, Carolina blue or shade. Maybe you could get away with Chicago Bulls, but at the end of the day, the original Jordans are still that sweet Carolina blue and white.
That's it. That's exactly right.
All right, Coach. Well, I think we've taken enough of your time. You need to go get like a little bag of almonds or something, whatever a coach snacks on at this juncture on the trip. So we'll let you go do that.
I'm thinking maybe a McDonald's large coffee and a cinnamon roll. Is that bad?
No,
of course
bad, but good. Bad, but good.
We'll sweat good doing pregame BP. How about
that? You're going to sweat off the cinnamon roll. It'll be good, Coach. Have a couple of them.
100%. Well, I appreciate a ton you guys having me on. Been awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate the time, Coach. And best of luck with Coastal and then Clemson. I mean, that is quite the way to finish out the year, but your guys are on some kind of a roll.
Yes, sir. Thanks a ton. Y'all have a great rest of your week and see you at the tournament, hopefully.
All right. We'll see you there.
All right. Take care.
Appreciate Scott Forbes and the extra effort. This is pulling back the curtain a little bit because we did it on Zoom. I couldn't find a way for Zoom to make a call outward toward a phone. So I had to text him, hey, this is the number for the meeting, call that, and then it's going to ask for the meeting ID, dial this in plus pound. So I felt bad. I sent him like bulleted instructions in a text while this man is like trying to be with his team on a bus, and he couldn't have been greater.
I know.
It. He's just like, yes, sir. Talk to you then. Like that was the text that he responded with. It was
he's a pro, dude. Like this, it's not a big deal to him.
Not at all. Not at all. Surprised to hear about the vibe on the bus. What do you think? What was a midweek at Miami? What would the bus ride have been like back in your day?
So immature. Well, we didn't have phones, obviously. There was no internet. Like, I don't know. We'd have magazines to look at. We'd play some cards and sleep. I don't know. I could understand if they were sleeping, if he said they were sleeping, but they were getting off for a break.
Yeah, stretches and snacks. Yeah.
Yeah, but it was so quiet. Like, I could not believe how quiet it was. There's no bus that I've ever been on that's been that quiet. Ever.
It's which is why I was sort of like, all right, what do you prefer? Would you rather they be, obviously there's a line. You don't want them to be too loose, but
right.
You know, you'd like for them to be a little locked in. And it is early. Like when we talked to him, it was 11 a.m. Eastern on Tuesday. Their game day, right? So, you know, if they don't wake up and really get moving or thinking sharply until 3 p.m., that's probably a good thing.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, you don't want them to be like locked in and serious right now, because then their brains will be fried.
Yeah.
You know, like a little relaxed. And I'm sure they were relaxed. It's just too quiet, man. I don't like quiet. Quiet makes me nervous.
Do you guys ever play games like Mafia?
That wasn't a thing back then, but when I coached a collegiate summer team here a couple years ago, they wanted to play Mafia, and it's just a bunch of ruckus back there, and so I ended up playing with them one time, and I don't have much of a poker face, but I did that night, and I whooped them.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Would you be able to explain the rules to Mafia?
No.
To somebody? Me neither. I was just thinking that it's very akin to
like Clue, kind of.
Sort of. There's a game that we used to play in school, like elementary school, where you put your head down and they tap your head, and it's like 7 people in the room get tapped, and you're supposed to heads up, 7 up. Yeah. So it's something like that. It's like the bus version of that, but like meets The Departed. Because like I've got a seared image in my brain from being on a bus with the collegiate national team a couple summers ago. We did this barnstorming of the Appalachian League when they transitioned from rookie ball to summer collegiate ball, and they all rebranded their names, and to sort of help promote that, because that league is now a USA Baseball partner league. The collegiate national team barnstormed the league, which is cool because it's a league that I grew up with. And going to their games. So I got to revisit all these, like I had played in showcases at half of them when I was a high school player.
Memories, huh?
Yeah, had for sure been to minor league games there.
Yeah.
So we went back to all those places, and it was sort of like this Gavin Cross of Virginia Tech and I, because he's from Bristol. They're on the Tennessee Virginia line.
Okay.
He and I were like the 2 guys who were from there. So we connected a lot on that trip, and we had to explain to the guys what Pals is. And Pals is this fast food like burger place that's a regional chain.
PALS? Pals?
PAL''S.
Okay.
So Pals. And actually the NIL stuff was just becoming a thing. So we had this running joke that we were trying to get Gavin a Pals deal. NIL deal with Pals. Or like Dr. Enough. The soda was originated there.
What is Dr. Enough?
You know Dr. Enough?
Never heard of that.
It's a regional
like Dr. Pepper?
No, it's sort of like a Sprite-ish, but they do have a darker colored one that is probably a little bit more like Dr. Pepper. So like it's a thing too, and
okay.
There's a big Dr. Enough bottle as a sign in right center field at one of the places. And then Brooks Lee, do you know who that is? Cal Poly shortstop a couple years ago. He hit this mammo to the opposite field, hitting right-handed. Like in on his hands, somehow stayed in on it and just blasted it off of the Dr. Enough sign when we were there. And he's from Southern Cal. He had no idea what Dr. Enough was. So it was fun sort of explaining that to him. But anyways, during that trip, Mafia, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
I've got this seared image in my brain. Landon Sims, star from Mississippi State, was all about Mafia. He was the ringleader. If they were playing, he was right in the middle of it. So like, I will forever hear his voice when you say Landon Sims. I'll forever hear his voice from the back of the bus being like, picking the Mafia, picking the Mafia,
Oh my
picking the
gosh.
Mafia, as he's tapping dudes' heads. It's like, what a right. I didn't play at all during that trip, but just like observing them playing, especially you get guys who have not been on buses all year together.
Yeah.
You sort of have this microwaved team. It was so much fun because some teams play by different rules. So they would get into it, like heated arguments about, no,
my gosh, I can't imagine.
This way. We do it this way.
Right. Oh my gosh, there's probably so much mayhem.
Yeah, for sure. So much mayhem. So anyways, appreciate
awesome.
Scott Forbes. Even without Mafia going on in the background, giving us some time on his way.
Yeah, we need to get some of those Jordans from him too, by the way.
I mean, maybe we could exchange. What do we think about some we got to get some shirts with the Kevin Roche artwork made. Maybe we can start bartering with those. And
that I think so. Gosh, I should see if we can get a rush order
for the tournament.
Yeah.
I still got to figure out technically how we're going to do some live shows. So that's on my to-do list for the rest
Well,
of
I think once we see how things are going the first day or two, we might be able to figure out a time,
Yeah. I'm not worried about time as much as I am, because I'm the producer / audio engineer / social media manager /
host
whatever. So I'm trying to figure out, okay, technically, what do we need to do to get it going? Because we're going to be on the same screen for the first time in ACC baseball, et cetera, history. We'll be same place, same screen. So we will do that. Again, it's on my list for the week, but no, that'll be fun. Let's talk off air about stuff for next week.
Yep.
To wrap it up, let's get to Hall of Name, shall we?
Let's do it.
Okay.
I'm nervous.
We're going to do a double dose of Hall of Name just because I said so. And because because a name popped up in my brain as we were just talking about bus rides and the Appalachian League and that sort of thing. So Hall of Name. We close out the show every time with it. Danny, the former closer, gives us a small look into his experiences as a college and professional pitcher. It goes like so. I pick a former teammate of Danny's. I've got a list here. It's in a Google Doc. And that's from any team he's ever played on. Team USA, University of Miami, Cleveland, Cincinnati, the Mets, any teammate ever. I name that teammate, and Danny has to tell us the first story, interaction, or anecdote, whatever that comes to mind. Just word vomit.
Yeah. Word vomit. I'm good at that.
Word. That's why this is a staple of the show, man.
Yeah.
All right. So for our first Hall of Name, I'm going to go with, these are both going to be Reds teammates.
Okay. Like, I have no idea. Usually I have for context, we've been through Ken Griffey Jr., Barry Larkin, Sean Casey was last time. Todd Walker,
Aaron Boone. All right. I'm assuming because he's on my list here, you guys were battery mates a lot. Benito Santiago.
Yes, we were. So I don't know if I played with him for 2 years. One for sure, maybe 2 years. I played with him. He signed with us to be the backup catcher.
Veteran guy. I mean, perfect for that because he became a coach afterward. He was I'm sure with you guys, he was probably just practically a player coach.
Yeah, and he was like 57 years old, so still able to squat down and still had a cannon. He was awesome, man. Like, he was a piece of work. This guy, what was the name that he called me? Like, the Miami gunslinger, I think he called me. So I started calling him the Haitian sensation, even though he's not from Haiti, but like it was just the first thing that came to mind. Like, cause I'm not from Miami. I grew up in Tampa.
Well, sure.
And born in Vietnam, but he's like the Miami gunslinger. So I said, oh, the Haitian sensation. So like we had that, it was like a running joke with us, but he was so like just cool, Daron. Like when I mean cool, just so laid back. And it's like, yeah, my man, you know, nothing was like too fast for him. You know, when people talk about slow the game down, well, he made sure it slowed down for everybody. And he was awesome to throw to, you know, because growing up, well, he was rookie of the year, what, in 87 or 88, maybe? I don't know, mid to late 80s. Yeah. So I was still a kid. I was a teenager watching baseball, and Benito Santiago was rookie of the year, throwing really the first catcher throwing guys out from his knees. And then to be able to play with him, even though I'd been in the league a couple of years, it was really cool because this is Benito Santiago. You know, if you're a catcher, you know who Benito is. But he was just so laid back and so friendly. And a lot of guys were like that I know I talked about this before, not really scared of, but intimidated by because of who they are and their names. And Benito was one of those guys, but he was so cool, man. I loved being around him. There was also some things about him that probably shouldn't say live on the air, but
we're recording. It's not live. The point of this segment, Danny, is to say the thing.
So we called him the human tripod. We'll leave it at that. But Benito was awesome. He was such a good dude.
Yes. I'm glad I pushed. I pushed enough to get you to say that. That's perfect.
You didn't have to push very hard. I mean,
confirmed 1987 rookie of the year in the NL.
Dude, I can't believe I just threw that out. 87.
Yeah, that was good. That was good. Obviously not from Haiti. He's Puerto Rican.
Yeah.
And man, just like one of those dudes that was just like in the league forever.
Yeah.
With a million different teams. 5-time All-Star. He won an NLCS MVP in 2002 with the Marlins. Like, just wild, man.
Well,
that was the Giants. Sorry, in 2002.
Oh, Giants, right.
Yeah.
Well, he stuck around because he was so valuable to the pitching staff. Like, back then you didn't care much about if catchers hit. You know, like they weren't there.
And then sometimes he would, right? And
sometimes he'd hit the ball out of the ballpark and. Great. But handling a pitching staff and blocking and being able to control the running game just because of his name was huge. You know, it's huge for pitchers, especially young pitchers.
I didn't realize he is a member of the Padres Hall of Fame.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. So he was Padres at the beginning of his career, 86 to 92. And then he played with the Marlins, the Reds, the Phillies, the Blue Jays, the Cubs, the Reds, again, the Giants, the Royals, and then the Pirates in 2005 was his last year in the bigs. But
oh my gosh, I didn't even realize some of those teams that you just mentioned.
Right. I had no idea. That's
you know, his backup catcher when he was won rookie of the year was Bruce Bochy. I know that sounds crazy.
That's good. That's one of those
6 degrees of separation. Is that what it's called? 6 degrees of separation?
6 degrees. I bet you could play a pretty good game of, with movies, they do 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon.
Yeah.
You could play a pretty good game in baseball of 6 degrees of Benito Santiago.
Totally.
That's good. All right. So Hall of Name number 2. Mm-hmm. And this is the one that my radar pinged as we were talking about the Appalachian League.
Joe Oliver.
No.
Oh.
This is a guy, pitching staff guy for the Reds. Aaron Harang. So, okay, let me do mine just to explain why he has a younger brother, Daryl, who was also a pitcher.
Okay.
I went to a camp at the Pulaski Blue Jays facility one time, Pulaski, Virginia, which is where they're the River Turtles now in the Appalachian League. But they were a rookie ball team for a long time, and they would host camps, obviously, and it's about 30 miles from where I grew up. So I went to a Pulaski Blue Jays camp one time. I was not a pitcher, okay? But because of the style of camp that it was, there was a pitching station for everybody. So I could throw hard. I was a good infielder. I had a good arm, but I just never pitched. The mechanics never came to me.
Right.
Except for like a day. And his brother, Daryl Harang, made me think I was going to go back to my JV high school team and just like be an ace. Because I was throwing.
Did he just hype you up or something?
Well, he was like, no, like come off the mound like this, right? And it's just like I'd never worked on pitching mechanics ever because I wasn't a pitcher, and my arm slot was this low infielder thing,
right?
So he got me throwing over the top and actually pitching instead of just stepping on the mound and throwing like anytime I had ever filled in or whatever. But then he was like, watch this. And he taught me a 2-seam grip.
And it worked?
And I went to pump this 2-seam, and I swear I didn't have this, but I felt like it had 2 feet of run. It was like, I was like unstoppable. And I go back and try to throw off of the mound, not in that setting with him telling me what to do. And it's just like, you know what? I'm just gonna settle back in at shortstop and be a little slap hitter. And
the coach said, "What are you doing?
Let me run the bases." But I went back to sort of our training camp that spring, and told Coach, I was like, Coach, I think I can pitch this year. I think I can pitch this year. I was like, yeah, just like this 2-seamer, the guy on the PJs taught me. And I go try to throw him in nothing, none of it. It was that for 3 hours, I was the greatest pitcher on planet Earth, Danny. And that's thanks to Daryl Harang.
He made you feel like you were going to be a really good pitcher.
Yeah. And actually the question is to be begged. I don't know what Daryl's doing now, but maybe he's coaching, because that would make so much sense.
Well, it seems like he should have been. If he's not, he should be. And I can honestly tell you, I didn't know that Aaron Harang had a brother.
Yeah, right. But I don't think he ever got to the bigs. Daryl Harang. He's 40 now, so maybe he would be. Oh, he played at San Diego State.
Yeah, that's where the Harangs are from.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. So, anyways, Aaron Harang.
Yeah. So, are you on Baseball Reference?
I was just now, and I exited out.
Oh, does it say if he's got a nickname?
Aaron?
Yeah. You know how Baseball Reference does that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Hold on. Let's check the nicknames section. No nicknames for Aaron Harang.
So we called him Harangatang, or even Harangamullion. I don't know if you know, like, mullion was a word that like kind of was going around the league. Like a mullion was just something a lot of people said about guys that were just kind of like big ogres. Like, and Aaron Harang's like a big giant ogre.
Big dude,
huge dude. He's 6'7", 6'8", giant head, giant shoulders, giant legs. Like he could be Shrek, like if he wanted to play Shrek. But let me tell you something about Harang. First of all, he could talk way more than either one of us put together. This dude just loves to talk. He will talk your ear off. And he'll close talk you. Like, he'll get real like up in your face, and he'll just close talk you to death. And he's so nice, though. Like, he's one of the nicest guys I've ever been around. But he loves cars. He loves hot rods. He builds hot rods with his family, and he's got like such a huge collection of just cars. He made a lot of money in his day, in his playing days. But we actually traded for him. Gosh, towards the end of I don't know if it was 2003 or 2004. We traded for him. Might have been 2003 for Jose
03.
Guillen. I think.
Yeah.
When he was with the A's.
Yep.
And he didn't really become the star pitcher until a few years after that. Then he became just unhittable. Like slider was unbelievable, just from the arm angle because he's so tall and he would hide the ball. Just such a large frame, and the ball would come out of nowhere, and his slider was filthy. But so I love Aaron Harang. He just close talks you a lot and like won't stop talking. You almost have to just kind of just nod, like towards the end of the conversation, you don't have any idea what he's talking about.
I got some follow-ups while I'm on his baseball reference. Led the league in strikeouts.
Yeah.
In 2006.
Yeah.
Also led the league in wins that year at 16. That seems low for then.
Oh gosh, that does seem low.
Most complete games in the league. 6 complete games that year.
Wow.
And then
he was a workhorse for sure.
Yeah. And then the following year, 07, his age 29 season, he went 16-6, 3.73 ERA, finished 4th in Cy Young voting. So that was kind of his highlight.
Yeah. Well, he was one of the few pitchers that had success at Great American Ballpark. Like a lot of starting pitchers, myself included, we gave up a lot of home runs at that ballpark.
Yeah, when you were a starter there.
When I was a starter. So, but he was able to have really good success. But like he had good stuff. He wasn't overpowering either. He didn't throw extremely hard. He was probably 92 to 94 with a little bit of movement, but his slider was freaking devastating. And in BP, he could hit some bombs too. Like he gets some leverage and go upper tank sometimes. But yeah, he's such a good dude. I really like him. He's like extremely nice, almost too nice for a big giant.
6'7", 230 is what he's listed as on Baseball Ref. So I'm sure that was his playing weight.
Yeah. So and
beast.
I've seen him in the last couple of years, and he's a little bigger. He's not fat, but like he's not in shape like he was, obviously. But he's probably 250 easy, and 6'7", 250 with the just large dome coming at you. and another thing, he would always like shave his beard in all different designs and stuff. It was, he had a lot of cool things about him.
Nice. Very good.
Yeah.
All right. That's Hall of Name. Appreciate that, Danny.
Wow. Those kind of out of nowhere. I never would have guessed that you were going for those. That was surprises. Good.
Well, I mean, like once we get through the Hall of Famers, they kind of all have to be surprises.
True.
I gotta really dig deep if we're gonna keep this thing going through the off season too. So I gotta refine my lists here and
a lot of them you have to make sure that they're known too. Like right. Like,
because this is a college baseball podcast, we did Brooks Kieschnick the one time, and it's maybe one of the greatest college baseball players ever.
Right.
I think, if you're enough of a baseball fan, you remember Benito Santiago.
Sure. You should.
Catching staple. Harangue's maybe a little bit more obscure, but the good news is, as you're listening, you can maybe pull him up on Baseball Reference or something. Yeah.
And see how good he really was.
Yeah. And it refreshes your memory. It's like, okay, yeah, I do remember.
Yeah.
I do remember that guy. So, we'll do some deep digging. I've still got a fair number of Miami and Team USA players that I can use. So that's helpful at this point.
We did Alex Cora. He was the only one from Miami, right? Oh, Charles Johnson.
Yeah, we did. I think so. Did we do CJ? I told you before we started recording, I got bad. I started to strike through all the names, and then I stopped doing that. So I gotta depend on my memory.
Oh, so wait,
so I gotta go.
I thought we did CJ.
Maybe he's been mentioned a lot. I'd have to go back and listen to know that we did CJ.
Yeah. Oh gosh. See, now I don't know.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. No. Exactly. I'm gonna have to go do some refining for the list. And then we'll be be set. But
yeah,
we still got plenty of good names on here. So
yeah, definitely.
Plenty of them. But all right. Final reminders, rate and review, subscribe, follow, whatever the platform calls for, wherever you are listening or watching, because we're on YouTube too. We're on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, as I just said, at ACC BSB ETC on each, Apple, Spotify, wherever else. 5 stars, appropriate comments for air. We will read them on the show. And the next time you hear us, we'll be in Durham. We will be in Durham at the ACC Baseball Championship. So it might look or sound a little bit different, but we're gonna game plan. We're gonna stop recording. We're gonna game plan, and then we will have plans for ACC Baseball Championship in Durham. Likely multiple episodes. We just got to figure out when and where to and how to squeeze them in.
Right.
So,
and we will figure that out.
We will. Yeah. No, we will. It'll be great. And it'll be a lot of fun. Looking forward to it. It kind of snuck up on us. So here we go.
Yeah.
A week from Durham. Let's have some fun with that. Have a great week. In the meantime, he's Danny Graves and Daron Vaught. We'll see you at the D-Back.